Hi everyone, welcome to FLC Live. My name is Lindsay Nyquist. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications here at Fort Lewis College. And today we are here to talk about the School of Business Administration. I'm doing double duty today because I actually also teach in the School of Business Administration, so maybe I'll get to answer a question as well. But I'd like to, first of all, remind you, if you haven't been to one of these before, please, we'd love to answer your questions instead of the questions we already have. So please type those in the comments below, and we'll do our best to respond to all of them. But first, I'd like to introduce all my guests today. First off, I've got Mariah Montezan, who is one of our student guests.
I am currently a senior here at Fort Lewis College and will be graduating this April with a degree in business management.
Yay, Mariah.
Plans afterwards, I am determining at this point. So.
Cool. Awesome. And where did you come here from?
I'm from northern Wisconsin.
Okay. Oh, I was just pretending that you were from Milwaukee before.
Close enough.
That was pretty close. Wow. Cool. And how did you hear about Fort Lewis College?
I transferred dealership, so Durango Motor Company is where I'm currently working, and they have a dealership in northern Wisconsin, and that was the connecting factor to Durango.
Wow. Cool. Okay, good to have you, and thanks to Durango Motor Company for transferring you here.
Thank you.
Cool. We've also got Dr. Lorraine Taylor.
Hello. I have been here since 2013. This is my fifth year. I teach tourism and hospitality management, which is a concentration within the business administration major. My background is I worked in the hotel industry for about 7 years, and I also did hotel inspections before I got...
I bet you have some stories.
I do have some stories, which are not appropriate on camera. But I loved actually teaching and coaching my staff, which is why I decided to go back to school to become an educator.
Awesome. Well, cool. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being at Fort Lewis. Next, we've got Eric Huggins, also a professor.
Hi, happy to be here. My name is Eric Huggins. I've been here since 2002, so I think longer than anyone at the table.
You win.
I teach, I'm professor of management. What I really like to teach are operations and analytics. I'm kind of a data nerd, and I think we talked about this.
Yeah, we did a radio interview for that.
We did, and yeah, I'm really happy to be here.
Awesome, thanks for being here. And then we've got Josh Emerson, one of our student representatives.
Absolutely. Hi, my name is Joshua. I'm an economics student here at the Fort. I'm a rising senior. I got 2 more semesters after this semester. President of American Indian Business Leaders. I'm a NAFOA Career Success Fellow. And yeah, the tuition waiver was a big factor on me coming, and the mountains, I would say. Pretty stoked about the mountains we have here in Durango.
Absolutely. And where did you move here from?
I'm originally from Phoenix.
From Phoenix, cool. And then last of all, we've got our Dean of the School of Business Administration, Steve Elias.
Stephen Elias, Dean of the School of Business Administration, started July 1st of last year, so Eric's probably the longest serving person in SOBA, School of Business Administration. I'm I guess the newest member of the School of Business Administration, and prior to being at Fort Lewis and Durango, I was at New Mexico State in Las Cruces for 9 years.
Awesome. All right, so getting started with, we were just talking about this before the camera started rolling, there are a bunch of different academic options within the school. So who wants to tackle sort of listing off what those are and talking a little bit about some of those? Anybody?
I would start by saying we have 4 broad areas within SOBA, and you guys correct me and chime in at any time. So we have business administration, then we have econ, accounting, and marketing, and within each of those, for the most part within each of those, maybe not econ, we have any number of programs, whether there's certificates, minors, concentrations.
Really, so a lot of ways for any student who has an interest in a specific area to sort of hone in their concentration and study really what they want.
Right, and we have some new programs that will be starting up as well. Ski operations management actually already did start. We have a few students in there, and that's a certificate. We'll have digital marketing, entrepreneurship / small business development. What am I missing?
Oh man.
Are we talking concentrations now, or
there are a lot of different ways to talk about it.
And
yeah.
We've got analytics.
Yeah, thank you.
Analytics. We've got
analytics.
Tourism and
International business.
International business.
Right.
And I'll point out the way that it's set up now. You can do a couple. You can major in one thing. You could major in econ, and then you could minor in tourism, or you can pick any combination. There's a lot of ways to hit different things that you're interested in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a really cool feature because there's so much overlap. Like, how much overlap is there between most of the majors within SOBA?
It depends on which majors you're talking about. So economics, for example, there's not a ton of overlap with some of the business administration because you need economic upper division electives, and those tend to just they're just a separate track, I'd say. But it's my understanding that the other majors do have more of an overlap. Especially
They do. I've had quite a bit of an overlap with the other majors like marketing and accounting, so they like intertwine themselves pretty well. So.
Yeah, cool. So a lot of people are getting that similar broad base, and then they can really specialize in the area that's really interesting to them.
Right.
Cool. Are there any things that students who might be in high school right now could be doing in high school to get better prepared? Like, especially a student question. Is there anything that you guys did in your high school that you felt helped you?
There's definitely things that I wish I did.
Let's talk about those. Yeah. Let's talk about
I
those.
can even remember things I shouldn't. So let's
We could all remember
those
things we
out.
Let's not go
have done.
shouldn't.
Yeah.
What do you wish that you had done more of in high school?
I wish I read more.
Read more, okay.
And I don't think it really matters too much what you're reading, but just the quality of writing that you're reading. So whatever interests you, just fully embrace yourself into reading. There's a lot of cool ideas that have been written about, and writing a book takes this process of making sure your ideas are good, usually, especially if it's going through a good publisher. So yeah, I wish I read more.
Okay.
I can definitely agree to that. I think another thing was like organizational habits. Like I didn't have any in high school, and that is something I struggled with my freshman year a lot. And then I wish I would have had those earlier on. And then
like time management and that kind of thing. Okay. Those are
definitely.
probably good things for any student in any major
Or
to have.
faculty member, and I
Yeah.
see that in a lot of students that when you get to college, wherever you go, there's a lot more freedom. You don't have your parents there typically. You're not in class every day of the week and sort of thing. And so, you get an assignment that's due 10 days from now. Good students will start it, have questions, ask. Other students will wait until it gets a little bit too late. So those kind of skills, those are just good college skills. That it doesn't have to be the business school anywhere, any college, any major. Show up, do the work, be polite, little things like that. They add up,
They really matter.
and don't fall behind. And that's easy to say, but then it happens, right? You get busy, something comes up in your life that takes you away from school. So it's not so much don't fall behind, but try not to fall behind. And if you do, go and see someone right away and figure out how to make it up. Because if you let it build upon itself, that's where students run into trouble.
Absolutely,
in my
especially in classes
experience.
that sort of build on
Right,
each other.
right. If you miss the first 2 weeks, it's very hard to understand what's happening.
Yeah, and I'm sure you see that a lot with the data analytics and the math side.
On the math side, absolutely. But pretty much in any class, you can miss stuff, but you've got to make sure you do everything you can to make it up.
Yeah.
And it's,
I think from a high schooler perspective also is to start thinking about college early on. So for example, I had a colleague in Albuquerque who asked if I could help his son get a tour of campus because he's interested in having his son attend Fort Lewis. And so that tour happened last Monday, and his son is a freshman in high
Not
school.
even, right? Isn't he like
Freshman or
he's going to be
incoming
in a
freshman.
rising freshman.
A
He's still
rising
in middle
freshman.
school.
Rising freshman.
And
Yeah.
so he and his parents are already now, they didn't wait for his junior, senior year. They're already now talking about college and
Yeah.
visiting. And so they did a great tour last week of campus. I
Yeah,
think-
with Evan. We were talking
Yeah,
with him last night.
that's right.
Yeah, and I mean, having that in mind, that early in your process, I could see making a big difference to your high school career.
Sure.
For sure. Cool. What would you, maybe more on the faculty side now, what would you guys say is different about Fort Lewis College compared to some other schools? We don't need to name names of any other schools, but just, compared, we're known for being a small liberal arts school with professional, emphases in addition to that, and that, things that we hear over and over again are student interactions with faculty. So anything to add, things that stand out about Fort Lewis?
I went to two much bigger schools. I went to a Big Ten school for my bachelor's and master's, and then an ACC school for my PhD. And particularly as an undergrad, I was a number. I am admitting this on film. I slept in the back of my econ class because I took it with 1,200 people, in a huge
1,200?
auditorium.
Never even heard of that. That's
Right. And so what do I really remember about econ? I had great naps in the back of that auditorium. And it's simply impossible to do that. We have 30 chairs in our classrooms, and so you can't have more than 30 people in a class. And because we're physically limited, I think the size really helps me get to know the students. They get to know me. Even 100 level courses are being taught by PhDs. At my undergrad institution, I didn't really see a PhD till I was in my third year. It was mostly teaching assistants who would have these big classes. And so I think the opportunity to meet faculty early on who are experts in their field that can guide you through the process is something that I didn't have as an undergrad. And at a much bigger school, I was a decision maker without a lot of support. And so I made a lot of mistakes about classes that I thought I should be taking that got me off track because I simply didn't have that guidance that you would get here at Fort Lewis, where I notice if one of my students isn't in my class in the fall that should be, and then I see them in the hall and I can tell them, hey, let's talk about your path to graduation because I think you're going to miss some sequence in the courses. And I never saw my professors at the much bigger schools where we have a much closer knit relationship and environment here that makes it sort of much harder to fall through the cracks than I think it was at my institution.
Absolutely. Cool.
Yeah, and I agree, and I agree with Lorraine completely. And outside the classroom, we see our students, I think, a lot more than at some places that I've been at. You know, students work outside my office, and we talk about things that are not always school related. Durango's a small enough town that you run into people outside, which is actually really cool most of the time. And you get to see your students in their natural environment, which is sort of neat to know. And then you say,
And they see you in your natural environment.
in particular, and it's really it's cliche, but you do get to know them better, but you can know them as people, not just as your students. And like Lorraine was saying, there's you don't use your social security number as your name on the test. You actually write your name. We know your name, which is a double-edged sword. It's great to know your professors, but you can't get away with much because they know exactly who you are. We know exactly who you are, and I think overall that's much better.
Yeah, and I mean, I know with my students, if they don't show up for 2 classes, they're getting a call or an email because I want to know if everything's okay, And
I've learned to be nice about those
Yeah.
because you never know.
Yeah,
I used to write, "Where have you been?" Now I say, "Is everything okay?"
Yeah.
And I hope they say it's okay. I'll be there next time. And then if they just don't respond, I say, "Well, if it's not okay, it's kind of not okay with me."
Yeah.
And so, I know when people aren't there, and it is a good incentive to be there, I think.
But I think one of the things that differentiates us, the School of Business, is we're accredited by AACSB International,
yeah,
but
talk
we
more
don't
about that.
we don't have graduate programs. And so going back to the point of you are always going to have a faculty member as your professor because there are no graduate students. I got my PhD at Colorado State, and when I was teaching as a graduate student, my classes had 208 students in them. That's just never going to happen here. And as far as accreditation is concerned, that's the gold standard accreditation for business school anywhere in the world. 5% of business schools have that accreditation, and we're proud to have it.
Absolutely. Cool. Let's see. I think. Well, actually, I'd like to have your guys' insight on sort of what we were just talking about with student-faculty relationships. How do you feel like that's made a difference? Do you feel like you've had mentors or?
Definitely. I feel like it's great because then you can build that relationship with your professors, and given like the smallness of it, you have those professors more than once typically, and that's been great. Like I've had both of them and they've been fantastic. Like I feel like we've developed a pretty good relationship, and like going into their office, like I need help. I don't know what I'm doing. It's been really great versus whereas like some of my friends at bigger schools, they've been like, I have no idea and I don't even know my professor.
Yeah. And you feel comfortable reaching out and having those discussions outside of the classroom.
Definitely.
Cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity because it's a smaller school to take advantage of things. So, just an example, my class had the opportunity to submit a business case to a case writing competition, and Dr. Taylor had a student as well. And this is a real case writing association. It's mostly professors that are writing cases for their classes, and then graduate students that are going through like MBA programs. And so we're the only undergraduate students there in Salt Lake. And that's an opportunity that's hard to come by at a large institution, and it's a real experience because you'll also get the opportunity to see these smart people, these accomplished people outside of an academic setting after that. And that was neat. Yeah. But it's that real relationship, it makes it easier to learn, I think, because sometimes there's a separation between learning and practicing, and part of life, like learning is a part of life, and so understanding that these professors are real people, that having that empathy is really, I've loved it, honestly.
Cool. Let's talk about internships a little bit. I know that that comes up over and over again across campus, but especially within SOBA. Is an internship required? Is it encouraged? How do you guys?
I'd certainly encourage an internship. We don't have an internship requirement.
Okay.
I think just about every week I get an email or I'm out in an event where someone in the business community asks about getting an intern or several interns. About once a week I get an email from students asking for an internship, so then I kind of direct them in hopefully the right direction. But we've actually had an uptick in the number of internships that we've been able to accommodate, which is great. But we don't require an internship. There's been some hallway talk about requiring an internship, which would be great. I haven't been at a college or university where all of the business students were required to have an internship. Everyone always wants to require it. The problem is, we have over 600 business students. Granted, they're at all different levels or points in their studies, but you'd still need to probably find up with 150 internships.
That's a lot.
In Durango, that could be tough. So we do a good job of getting internships for people who want an internship.
Yeah.
That's it. We don't require everyone to do it, but if you want to do it,
We'll help
get
you.
you.
and we can usually find one thing, again, coming back to this community, we have very close connections to the community.
That's what I was.
And I know
Yeah.
at some bigger schools, they may claim they have these really big connections, but I don't always trust how close they are. These are our neighbors, these are our friends, and so a lot of it, if you are talking to someone, like you said, at an event, and they're like, "Oh, we could have someone help with this." I did one last week, and this is where I tell you we have a Tesla group in Durango.
This is the third time I've heard about
I
them
did
this
not
week.
know this, and I was at a meeting where I met this guy, and he's a computer nerd, kind of like me, actually more nerdy than me, but super cool guy. And I'm like, "Oh, who do you work for?" And I was figuring, and he's like, "Tesla," and I'm like, "Okay." And so I'm like, "Do you need interns?" And they're like, "Yeah, we have to, go through a process, but it'd be cool." And so you meet these people and you see them all the time, and it's we make it work. And I've had some students very successful at like local companies like Rocky Mountain Chocolate Factory and stuff like that.
They take a lot of students. for sure.
They're very good about that, and so I think I don't think we would try to make everybody do it because we just couldn't make the numbers work.
Right.
But if a student wants to do it, we find them an opportunity. Now they have to be also a good student.
Absolutely.
We're careful about it. Students that are not doing well in the classroom, we're careful about sending them out and representing us. So there is a threshold, and so we do keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, for sure. I know my students are working for Adventure Pro magazine and all kinds of cool places around town, which is I really try and hook them up. I think I got some interns set up last night at that event at the Arts Center.
I was just going to say, I met with the director at the Durango Arts Center asking for a business intern, and we were able to accommodate. So
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I think I've been really impressed. I mean, you're relatively new to town, but you've already gotten so many connections with this community that
that's fun. Durango actually has a phenomenal business community. I say that every chance I can because it's the truth. And people in town realize what's good for town is good for campus, and what's good for campus is good for town. And so we're trying to, I don't know how many feet the drop is from campus to town. I don't know.
300.
It's 300.
300.
You were running up the front hill. It's
550
300.
steps.
Well, yeah, exactly. So it's only a 300-foot drop, but you're switchbacking all the way down. But it's been great getting out into the business community and making those connections. Because it feels like we feel bigger than we are. And so you're still able to make those connections. Last night at the event, I was talking to the city manager and the mayor, and they knew what was going on in Soba. And I thought that was great.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we really can. It's a small community, but we're
Yep.
so connected to it.
It's really interesting because there's a lot of opportunity in town, but the Front Range isn't that far away.
Yeah.
I guess, especially both my internships are in the Front Range, and the accounting program here, the Beta Alpha Psi chapter especially, is known for having good accounting students, and there's a prestige of coming from Fort Lewis's accounting program up to the Front Range.
That's really cool. And I know that they do that road trip every year where
Yeah.
they take students up to the Front Range, have them meet with accounting firms, and I mean, just hand picking those people, I think is a really cool feature.
I went on that trip last semester with the students. Did you go on the last semester trip for Beta Alpha Psi? You're in your econ.
Yeah.
So the Beta Alpha Psi trip, I'd say there's probably 25, 28 students, and some of the major firms, big four firms were there to meet with our students. I think that's phenomenal. And then you had some other smaller firms that were on the Front Range that were alum of the School of Business that only want to recruit Fort Lewis School of Business
That works for
accounting
us.
students. So yeah, it's phenomenal.
Cool.
Yeah.
And Josh, can you talk a little bit about the internships that you've had?
Yeah, so one of them is actually this summer. That's with KeyBank, and so I'll be working at KeyBank. It's a summer retail banking internship. It's a pretty exciting opportunity, but that one I just applied because of their Native American banking group.
Oh.
I found out I wanted to be in Native American banking last summer when I worked for the Native American Bank. It's headquartered in Denver. I did a credit analysis as an intern, which was pretty interesting. And when you talk about economics, it can be applied in a whole bunch of different ways.
Yeah.
Banking is definitely one of those,
Okay.
where you can just watch and see the dreams of people around you, see if they're real, and see if you can help them accomplish that.
Yeah.
And then just build that community.
That's a cool way to approach it.
And that approach comes from here in Durango, that idea that community banking is so strong in the Durango culture, for
Yeah.
sure.
Awesome. And it looks like we've got a question from the internets.
So, first a comment, Josh, you've got a fan, Zane Goodell, says hi. The question, how does a business administration degree from Fort Lewis prepare students to work among cultural differences and practices?
Oh, that's a great question. Kind of what you were just talking about, Josh, but anybody want to elaborate on that?
Well, you're president of ABLE, and so I think you could speak to that. I mean, we could all probably speak to that.
Well, absolutely. Fort Lewis is a unique institution. It's something, was it like 30% of the School of Business Administration is Native American?
30.9.
Yeah.
Will
Not
you
to be
please
a
be more
data
specific?
geek, but I do know that.
Right. And that's really exciting. We have something like over 1,000 Native students here at the institution as a whole. And when you're looking at Native populations in college, I think only NAU has a larger institution. So U of A, ASU, they all have smaller populations than here at Fort Lewis. And you see that across campus. And the type of people that come to campus, and then just the interactions. So this is the only institution I've ever been where it doesn't feel like I'm in the minority. And that's kind of a strange predicament to be in as a Native American. I enjoyed a lot. There's a lot about Durango that the small town, the ski culture, the river culture that's different from a boy from Phoenix, you know?
Yeah.
But there's an openness and an acceptance that I really enjoy. And in the School of Business Administration, because we talk about issues that no other business schools are talking about because they might seem niche, but they're very important to us.
Well,
Another aspect is that at least under the business administration major, we have a program learning outcome of working effectively in teams. And so every one of my classes requires a group project, and not all of the students love it, but they work through it. And the way I present group projects is not that I'm going to put you in a group and you're going to have all these problems and we're not going to talk about it. We talk about it. We talk about the personality conflicts. We talk about who's the one guy in the group that's not pulling his weight or responding to emails. And I think that the practice that you get of being required to work with people who might be different from you helps you learn how to apply those skills in the future. I gave a talk with parents of incoming students, And I prefaced my statement that I require all of my students to do group projects with the statement that I hated group projects in college, and this one parent started applauding, and they were clapping because they probably also hated group projects, and then I followed it with, and I make all of my students do group projects, and that's simply because I think the ability to communicate with people who are different than you and to figure out how to motivate people who are motivated differently than you is one of the best skills that I can help to build it within my students so that they're prepared for the real world.
And I think that just to build up that with event management, like being a co-coordinator for Hawk Tank, like motivating a group of 30 students is extremely difficult because everyone is completely different. And like, that's just helped me deal with a bunch of different personalities. Like it's been a good stretch for me to like finish out my last year here.
So yeah, that's our first mention of Hawk Tank. So who can talk about Hawk Tank? So you're the third year?
Yes.
Fourth year? Of
This is
the
third year of Hawk Tank, which is our business plan competition, which is just wrapping up this weekend.
This
Who wants to go
Saturday
into more
is
detail on this?
our awards banquet. Have you been in Hawk Tank? Part of a team?
My mom got honorable mention last year.
Oh,
Really?
wow.
That's awesome.
Nice.
She's a soap maker.
She's a soap
Oh,
maker,
I think I probably met
I
her
remember, yeah.
not that long ago. And so were you in Hawk Tank?
I'm not in it, I'm
Running it.
running
You're
it.
helping run
So
it.
yeah.
You make it happen.
I do.
Okay.
We have 9 finalist teams, and they all have great business plans. So the competition is Saturday from 8 to about 12:30, and they'll be presenting in front of judges, and it's just like a chance for all students campus-wide and alum within the last 5 years to really develop a business plan, and like if they have an idea, they can put it out there, and it's a really good practice, but it's also like a great opportunity that if you have one of the top business plans, you could win money to start your business.
Yeah, and the great thing, and by the way, I don't know who's advanced. I've inquired and not been told. And I was in a coffee shop the other day, and the VP for Able
Yeah, Michael Watchman.
was in there and came up and told me that he advanced. So I at least got
Oh.
some
Congrats, Michael.
inside.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
got some insider information. But the nice thing is when you have your team, you get a mentor. And so as you're going through, you're not just left to figure it out. You have a mentor working with you. And so we've had several businesses that have actually been born and blossomed.
Yeah, can you guys talk
Out
about a
of-
couple examples of those?
out of Hawk Tank.
We've had so much success.
My favorite one to talk about is probably everyone's favorite one to talk
Donuts.
about, which is
Rendezvous.
Rendezvous Donuts. Charlie,
Charlie Shu, who's
Shu.
an engineering grad from last year.
and which is also a good point. He's not a business student.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie was not a business student. He was an engineering student. Put together a plan for Rendezvous Donuts, and I'm fond of pointing out that he did not win.
Right.
But based upon the mentorship he got and the quality of the plan he put together, he was still able to get investors and capital and started his business, and it's done extraordinarily well.
Yeah, he's doing great. And he's set up in downtown Durango.
Set up downtown. We should have
We should have donuts right
Donuts
here.
here.
I'm so hungry all of a sudden.
we could showcase the donuts.
I think Nitrium Dynamic Paint from last year, who was the winner.
Yep.
Yes.
Can anyone talk about them? I think that was a really cool business
Daniel
model.
was my student, and
Okay.
he, these are two brothers that took recycled paint and turned it into new paint, and it's a great thing. They're recycling, and they're doing really well. And actually, he has like 3 businesses. I can't
Oh,
keep
I
track
know.
of
He's
this
a
kid.
Red Bull ambassador.
He's the Red Bull. He's handing Red Bulls out. It's super cool.
I actually got one today.
Yeah, and,
That's why we're all still
Always
awake.
has caffeine.
and the thing I'll point out is it's funny what Steve was saying. He doesn't know who the finalists are. The best part about Hawk Tank is students get really excited, and there may be days in my class like not all my students are excited because you have to cover stuff that is important, but maybe not. But I had a student, I won't say who, and I'm pretty sure he and his team advanced, said, let me show you something on my phone. And I'm like, oh, what is this going to be? And so for Hawk Tank, each group makes a 1 minute long, this is my business proposal kind of video. And he really wanted to show it to me. He said, I'm so proud of this. And this is stuff that students are doing that isn't for credit. You don't get graded on it. It's outside, it's extra work, but it's so interesting that they just want to share it with you. And that's what makes it so cool, is that it's extracurricular, but it's related to the program. And the fact that there are non-business students involved, there are teams, and And it's so open. The ideas range from, oh, that's a good idea, that's crazy wacky, but it just might work kind of thing. And so that was really cool to have this student in particular who isn't always excited in class say, let me show you this thing, it's really cool.
Yeah.
So that was fun. That's great.
For sure.
I've been involved in Hawk Tank since the beginning, and the trajectory of its growth is both amazing and a little scary for me. Because the first year we had top 3 student teams. Last year we started an alumni track. And then this year we have the alumni track, and we've also added an innovation kicker where we're trying to get more ideas around campus that are based for technology sort of companies. And so I have no idea what's going to happen next year, but we're excited, and the support that we've gotten from the community, from our sponsors, and then just interest in the students. We had over 70 initial businesses, including Josh's food truck, that was submitted this year. And so I can't imagine what our numbers will look like next year, but we're really excited, especially to get the community and to get students across campus. And recent alums, one of my students who lives in Puerto Rico, who graduated a couple years ago, he submitted this year, and so we're trying to get.
Yeah, because you can be a part of it as a young alum, even if you don't live in Durango.
That is
right?
correct.
You just have to be here for the final event. That's really cool.
The other thing I like about it is we were talking about the ties between the School of Business and the business community, and I mentioned all the teams have mentors. All those mentors, almost all of them, if not all of them, are in the Durango business community that take the time out to work with our students, which is great. And these are VPs of major companies that say no, and some of them are alums, some of them aren't, that take the time to work with our students, which is phenomenal.
Cool. Awesome. Well, since we're talking about extracurricular stuff, can we talk a little bit more about student clubs? You've mentioned ABLE, and I don't know if you're involved with any clubs, but what options are available for students?
Tons.
All of them.
Yeah, I think there's 70 RSOs that registered this year. But I was involved on Student Senate this year, and then I was president of ABLE, and we'll be able to send some students down to compete at the national conference in Phoenix this year. And so to get those funds to do that, multiple members. So I presented to the La Plata County Electrical Authority. They have a grant board, and so I presented to that. And then got $1,000. And then Michael Watchman, the vice president, presented. There's a board here called the Financial Allocations Board, which is takes student fee money for travel grants and event grants. And Michael got $1,000 from them as well. And so these opportunities to present are pretty cool, because presenting to LPEA, that's a skill that's transferable.
Absolutely.
Just be able to communicate something. And so, like I said, there's opportunity here. There's opportunities for leadership. There's opportunities to practice skills that are going to be needed in the future, for sure.
I'll give some more of my standard advice.
Bring it on.
And this is not just Fort Lewis, this is anyone going to college. You get out of it what you put into it.
Absolutely.
You can be the student sleeping in the back of the econ class. But you can do very little. You can get through your classes and get out, or you can get involved with clubs. You can get involved in the community. You can do a lot of things, and really the more you put into it, it just grows and grows. And so we have lots of registered student organizations. Is that RSO?
Yep.
Say, all right. But then we have intramural athletics, which are part of that, and we have just so much. We haven't got to this, which is weird. We have so much to do in Durango when you're not in class. Of course, you go to class, you do your work, but we have a ski area 30 minutes away. We're 3 hours from the Utah desert, which is wonderful. We have a beautiful river running through town. We have the mountains. It's just a wonderful place to live. And some of my best students are the ones that balance that the right way. They do really well in school, but they still get their fun in and have a good time. And it's sort of the healthy mind, healthy body. They're outside a lot, but they get their work done. And many of them turn that into their career, where they work outside or they do something that's related to that.
Josh Kling is a great example.
Exactly.
Business
He was my
administration
student,
graduate.
8 years
I think
ago.
2005 was when he graduated. Yeah.
Oh,
But you're still
13,
really
8,
young.
I remember. So he was one of my students way back when, and he's running his guiding company. And,
really
and
successful.
so that's we have those opportunities. Which if I were thinking about coming here, and I was comparing different schools that were maybe similar in other ways, you'd be really hard pressed to find place with outdoor activities like us.
Absolutely.
There's maybe a couple, but there's not a whole lot.
Yeah.
Plus
Right.
the fact that we have all the equipment that students can take with them to do whatever they want. And
Yep, and training and safety
Yeah.
and all those
Yeah.
pieces.
I think another thing to highlight, I went on the junior term abroad in Heidelberg last spring, so
Yeah.
Perfect
super
segue.
awesome
Please
opportunity.
chat.
If you're not a business major, you had the option to get like a business minor through that program. We took 5 classes over there, so it was a total of 15 credits. And I think every weekend we were traveling somewhere different. Like Heidelberg, Germany is a phenomenal place just to be in general. Like there's a river running through it and there was a lot to do, but there was also like Prague was 3 hours away, or France was also like the distance to Denver. Like it was really cool to just go out and travel and like that. And that was like a highlight of my college career for sure.
And your
yeah.
professors were Fort Lewis professors.
Right.
Just for the
Yeah.
audience
Yeah,
that-
that's a good point.
Yeah, can you talk more about sort of what the structure of that was like?
So we had Doug and Chris Lyon, which are our business professors here, and we had class pretty much Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and excursion days through the study center in Heidelberg that we would take to businesses. So we went to like Audi and did a tour of that and got to ask about their financial statements. And we also went to like Kosher, which is a water blasting tool company, which is
like
huge.
Stone
Like Stone
Yeah, like
Age,
I didn't know
Stone
there
Age.
were that many of them.
It's a pretty
Just
big
those two.
company, and I guess they have a plant like up in Denver area. So it was really cool. We visited a ton of big companies, and they try to like incorporate that into our learning experience, but also giving us the time to go.
Now, is
on our
Natalie
free
taking
time.
notes? Because there's another student who works locally in a company that
yeah.
competes with
She
them.
loved that section,
She
so
did. Okay,
she was
good.
taking some notes for
Yeah.
sure.
Cool.
And we're planning on doing that every year.
Yeah. It's,
Heidelberg, plus working in a few others.
I did one in France 3 years ago, and it was
Okay.
great. It was super fun and really educational. And in France, we got to go to Normandy Beach, and it was on
wow.
the anniversary. I mean, my favorite story from this started bad and then ended really well. So we went to the cemetery that's above Normandy Beach, where where all the white crosses are, and it's a really somber place. And we'd had a whole day of touring around on a bus. The kids were getting a little tired, and we all were. And walking into this cemetery, there were these 3 guys that were kind of goofing around, kind of tripping each other. And I was about to lay into them, like, show some respect. And you turn the corner and you see those crosses, and all the kids were just quiet and respectful for the next like 3 hours. We just were there, and it was just I'll remember that forever, because it traveling like that. I mean, I'm sure you went to places where you're like, wow, here's the Berlin Wall. It's a pretty cool thing. Just one final note on that, like you said, the classes you took, they aren't fluff classes. They're classes towards your degree, or if you weren't getting the degree, you could get a minor with them.
entire minor.
So parents who might be listening, your money's going towards getting the degree while your students are learning all these great things.
right. And there's really, you can't put a price on the value of international travel. I think.
Not at all. I think it was a huge like cultural eye opener for sure, and we just had to learn how to interact with a bunch of different people. And if we didn't speak the language, we had to figure out how. And it was a really good thing to work around. So.
Yeah. Cool. See if we got another question from Facebook.
Well, just continuing with the international theme, we have business graduates working all over the world. And we're wondering, where are some of our alumni working? What kind of businesses are they in? Where are they in the world?
Any success stories we want to share from any students?
Whew, boy, we do have alum all over. In fact, it's gonna be hard, but I have to go to Hawaii in a couple of weeks.
Oh, wow.
Oh, you
That's
poor
I have to go to
guy.
Honolulu for an AACSB gathering, and I'm going to arrange to meet with some alum in Honolulu. Pretty much anywhere I go, I am able to meet with some alum. We have alum who are presidents of divisions of Lockheed Martin, which is pretty great. We have alum who've started their own businesses. We have an alum in Albuquerque who's the incoming director of economic development
Yeah,
for
Sean
the
McCabe.
Navajo Nation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've heard a lot about that.
Proud CEO of a 100% Native American accounting firm in
Yeah,
Albuquerque.
he's done so much for the college lately.
Yes. So we have alum everywhere. We really do, and doing very great things. And I think one of the things I kind of have as a goal for the next year is to really showcase those folks, to make people aware of the fact that you can come to Fort Lewis, get an undergraduate degree in business administration or any of our areas and really compete with anyone coming out of any other school and do great things.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, my two favorite are Sean McCabe, who ended up starting his own CPA firm. He's now going to be the Director of Economic Development for the Navajo Nation. And then Veronica Lane. So she was she was an accounting student here, and then she ended up going to DU to get her MBA. She worked for an investment firm out in Portland, and then now she's the new business development officer for the Native American Bank.
Awesome.
And just that accreditation allows you to go from your undergrad to all these great graduate programs, and because the accreditation is the same, it transfers. So this Fort Lewis degree is worth something as you take that next step into your educational career.
Yeah. Well, any other?
I'd say we have, I've
Yeah.
students that have gotten great jobs locally, so at Stone Age and
Yep.
and great. I mean, you walk into any bank in Durango, and I know half the people in there, right?
Sure.
And we do have some students that stick around and for a couple of years just enjoy Durango, but then I'll hear from them later that they've found something great. And I would say many of our students find a job locally. A lot of them that come from the Front Range, and if you're not familiar, Front Range is I-25. It's Denver and
Yeah,
everything
Denver.
else. Go back there, and of course, I think we have a lot of connections there. And we have students that go to Albuquerque, so those are, but then all over the place. Really, probably my favorite student is this. I want to call him young man, but I'm not going to say how long ago it was because it might be longer than I remember. But I got him this internship at Stone Age, which is a water blast tool company, and he's been working there ever since, and he's doing great. So sometimes in that connection was just I know people there because it's a small town,
Yep.
and I was at an event and said, hey, do you need someone to come and help you? And another student right now is working there. Actually, I have a student interning there, a student who works there full time, and a student who is, what's Natalie's thing? She's like kind of semi-part-time or something.
Yeah.
Something like
It's not an
that.
internship.
We
She
had
works
her on
there, but
the-
it's not full-time.
yeah.
So we, once you make those connections and we send our great students, it just builds and builds.
And they this week also sent me a request to find him an accountant.
Oh, right on.
Perfect.
So yeah.
Oh, and I have a great accounting student that for years was the accountant at Ska Brewing.
Oh, yeah.
And his
job.
name is Eric, same as mine, so easy to remember. And since then, he's actually moved to Ska Fabricating,
Oh,
which
yeah, their
is
side business.
a side business that this brewery has where they make brewing equipment.
Yeah, like
And he is
pelletizing.
basically running that place.
Oh, that's
And
that's
so
a
he's
cool.
he's moving up, and he's doing really well there. And I mean, he has the Fort Lewis accounting degree. I actually saw him on campus. Do you know Eric Johnston? He's
I've heard of him. I don't
He's
know
back.
him
I'm like,
well.
what are you doing here? You're taking classes for fun, and something changed in the CPA requirements that he had to go back and get 3 credits. So he just came back, and it was funny. He's walking around with his
Yeah.
baseball cap, looking, and he's
Like a real live student.
Yeah, and so we still have those connections, which is great. So yeah, I saw him the other week
Awesome.
on campus. It's funny.
The community for tourism has been amazing with hiring my students both as interns and then moving into full-time positions. I'll give a shameless plug for Julia Foran, who won the Best Internship Award this year.
Yep, one of my students too.
She had an internship with Antlers, which is Antlers on the Creek is a bed and breakfast outside of town. She worked there last year as an intern, and she started like making breakfast. And then she continued working for them throughout the year. Now she's graduating in a couple of weeks and has a full-time job as their wedding coordinator this summer because they do quite a bit of events on their property. And so that's just one example. I've got students at nearly every hotel in town. And then they move on to go to bigger ski resorts on the Front Range and things like that. Have been very supportive. I have one of the programs where I really try to get students with experience before they get their degree so that they know that they have the natural skills and talents to be in the industry. And what's great about the Fort is that they get class credit to take internships. It's not just something that's encouraged. It actually helps you get towards your degree. And so I try with all my students to get them into the community, into the field, get some practice, and then
Make sure it's what you want to do.
Yeah, and
have
I
that
have-
opportunity.
and I've seen so many of them end up with full-time jobs based on their performance in the internship.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, another student question. I wanted to ask you guys, what have been some of your most challenging moments of your SOBA career? Either a class that was really tough or a project, one of those awful group projects that I make all my students do too. Anything, and how you pushed through it and how it led you to succeed? Anything?
Yeah, so I like to talk about opportunity. And sometimes you take on too much opportunity. And I had definitely done that in the past. And it's an important skill to learn to be able to say no to a project, even though the project excites you, and to understand what's important and what you really want to give your best to. Because there's a lot of things that you could want to do, but if you try to do all of them, you may not do all of them as well as you want to, and that could be bad.
I definitely think I'm the one that struggles with balance. Like I can work anywhere from 25 to 40 hours a week at my job alone, and then I have 15 credit hours or more, and I took on the role of
How do you balance it all?
I don't know. I'm really good at like multitasking, and I think that's how it just all came together. Just having like a very set time structure and trying to balance my personal life too has helped a lot. That took 3 years to develop, and it finally came together this year. So
what an important skill to have.
Yeah, it definitely came in handy this semester. But then I added the Hawk Tank coordinator thing, and that was like another side job. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but it was good to like work through those challenges, and like it showed me a lot about myself and a lot about like I can delegate things to people, and I can have it be okay, and I don't have to do it by myself. So
yeah.
It was definitely a good experience.
Mariah is such a good delegator that she came to me and said, I don't have enough to do.
I gave it all away.
I've never had a student ask me for more responsibility when they've already taken on so much, and so she's a star.
She had me filling out the name cards.
Okay, and students, what was your most challenging class that you've ever taken? It's okay if the professor might be in the vicinity.
Well, I mean, the only one I've taken in a classroom is Dr. Taylor, but I think it's probably my favorite class right now, and it's the class I'm taking this semester. It's the Economics Policy Capstone. And so that was the one that we wrote the case for, and that was like our group project. And I was really never done anything like that, and to try to learn how to do it on the fly was difficult. And then we're currently writing a policy paper, like evaluating public policy. I'm doing mine on tribal Section 17 corporations, and it's hard. It's challenging. It's a good type of challenging, and also annoying. Like it's yeah, but it's definitely kind of cool to see how these are how papers are written. And if like the idea of being published isn't super foreign anymore. It takes work now.
Cool.
Say money and banking was my upper level econ class.
Money and banking, okay.
I thought it was going to be great, and I struggled the entire semester, and I thought I was going to fail at one point, but I managed to get through. So that
what
was.
What kind of academic support do you feel like you have? Like when you're in a tough situation like that, what do you do in SOBA when you're struggling with a class?
I went to my professor a lot. I talked to them a lot. I also just had like some friends in the class who were finance majors. Like, we got you. Like, we're going to help you. All right, thanks. And like just the closeness of the classes, you're able to have those bonds with other students. Like I relied on them so much, and it was like the reason I passed the class. So
yeah, sometimes you have to reach out. And that's another skill to learn for sure. Cool. And Josh, you mentioned your capstone course. Can you guys talk about how that plays a role in different SOBA majors, either the students or faculty?
Yeah. So economics is we're part of the School of Business Administration, but we're sort of on our own track. So we have our own capstone as well. And our capstone is to discuss different ethical ways to evaluate policy and then actually trying to practice using those ways. And it's sort of an accumulation. All the skills you learned in intermediate microeconomics and understanding elasticity of demand and like these little things in economics, and then trying to apply that and be able to explain it simply is that's what it's been for me. I don't know.
For my capstone class, we're for business administration majors, we have to do a simulation. So we have to pretty much run a business and create products and know when to delete the products and then market them and know how many to produce and predict other teams' moves. So it's a group effort, and like we're split into 5 different teams and we compete against each other. So it's like all against our grade, and it's really, really interesting. We have to like develop a plan for what we're going to do for each round, and then we analyze our plan, see where we went wrong or like why we succeeded, and it's really interesting, but it's a good hands-on experience and kind of builds everything we've learned in the last 4 years.
So what was your business simulation?
So ours is a sensor company, so it's through CAPSIM, and that's like a nationally used program, and the industry we're in is sensors, so we have to like create these sensors according to customer buying criteria and like prices and sizes, and I had no idea what I was getting into, and it took us like a solid couple rounds to figure out how to like really play the simulation, but in the end like it's turning out pretty well. It's kind of cool to see.
So students, what do you guys feel like you're prepared to do now when you graduate and head out into the world? It seems like you guys have pretty solid foundations.
Well, I feel like I'm prepared to be hired. I'm very prepared for that.
That's step one.
Yeah, be able to talk and value my own opinion, to not discount myself at the beginning of the conversation, and then just to be. There's so much that we learn at Fort Lewis that there's so much more to learn about, and so finding out what I like about both in business and in life. It's pretty interesting that graduation isn't the end of education. So.
That's great.
I think I'm ready to take on some bigger challenges I wasn't expecting, like kind of push myself into the next area of things. I'm also ready for nothing at the same time because graduation just got really real in the last hour. But yeah, no, I think it's really helped me develop like communication skills and just being able to like put myself out there and be able to network effectively and like build meaningful relationships with others, and like I know I can get hired somewhere. So
Awesome.
that's
What
a
a great
big thing.
feeling. Sure. All right, we've got about 5 minutes left. Does anybody have any last things to add? Been thinking about what a prospective student, what it might help them to learn or know about our program or
I think
process to get here?
speaking to being prepared for when you graduate, one of the reasons I feel pretty confident we're doing a good job there is talking to people who bring our students in for internships. And you're in town, you're running into people, and 100% of the time all I hear is so-and-so is helping us in an internship and doing a great job. If everyone could be like so-and-so, we'd be doing phenomenal. I've never gotten negative feedback, or I've never even gotten
Average
could you tweak,
feedback?
Could you tweak just a small thing? Everything has always been great, and so I love that because I think it's important that our students are career ready when they graduate. and
I'll
it
take it a
seems to be
step
doing that.
further. I got a call last week from Swan Global. They're looking
Right.
for an intern.
Okay.
And I know some of my students have actually interviewed there recently. And the person talking to them is one of our graduates, Max Thielen from,
Feeling, yeah.
I won't say how many years, but it was a while ago.
He wasn't that far
long
ago.
Okay, not that
Yeah,
long.
he was a big
And
cyclist.
literally, his boss got on the phone and said, "I want a couple clones of Max." So not just they want clones, and we don't have clones, but
We could, maybe that we
there-
could attack next time.
maybe we
Hopping.
could. Yeah.
Cloning, yeah, interesting.
And I've heard the same thing about Grayson Youngren.
Oh,
Jungren,
yeah.
who- he works for my friend Travis Kimmel at Get Prime, and man, they have 3 Fort Lewis SOBA
bunch
grads
of
right
our
now, and
students do.
they
I see 'em
love
going
them.
down
They
there. Yeah,
says
that's
that
right.
they're just such
Mikey's
solid
there
graduates.
too. He
Yeah,
was on the
Brooke
France trip with
Perry.
me, and Brooke was my. Yeah,
Yep.
that's right.
So
Yeah.
just a lot of really solid students out there.
Well, and solid faculty in School of Business too. And you guys do a great job, and to brag, Fort Lewis College every year has the most outstanding teacher on campus for this past year.
This
Dr.
Eric last year.
Huggins.
Yep.
I've
Got
for
to
a
give
couple
a
of
nice
months.
commencement speech.
Yeah, Michael Martin, the next person who's in history, is starting to tell me my reign is nearly over.
Yes.
I can still enjoy it while
Yes.
I can. Yeah.
But we do have outstanding faculty who are passionate about working with
Absolutely.
students.
Yeah, and it makes a difference for sure.
I'll give just one more piece of advice for students, incoming students or parents. I think you'll notice in our conversation today that we never talked about grades or how many points you're going to earn. It was all about your life skills and your development to build relationships and to work hard. And I find that the students that emphasize the points that they're earning are learning far less than the students who are really here to learn how to better themselves. And I think that starts in high school too. I mean, your grades are important, but they're not everything. And I would much rather have this type of relationship with my students who maybe don't have 100% than the student with 100% that never really pushed themselves to get out of their bubble and learn more than just how to study. So,
absolutely. Well, do we have one more question from out there?
Yeah, I just had to get this in. Cheryl Huggins.
Oh, I see.
That's funny.
Excited to be watching her son.
How'd she find out?
She's out there.
That's awesome.
Hi, Mom.
But one other question that is just sort of general and I think interesting discussion. And Lorraine, I know you've done some studies into the cannabis business. We had a question about what are the opportunities with the cannabis industry, with business, and are there plans, or what would you like to see, or where are we now? I know it's all very complicated.
I have a lot of students who are interested in opening cannabis businesses, and our job is to prepare them to follow their dreams. And so if that's your dream, then we can help you have the foundation in business to do that. My particular research is in the impact of cannabis on tourism fluctuations, and so the number of visitors coming and what their impact is. And we are finding in Southwest Colorado that people are coming here to purchase and consume legal marijuana. It's not the reason they're coming here. They're coming here because we have some pretty amazing things to do, and the people I've spoken to say that it's sort of the icing on the cake as a tourist to choose Colorado over some other places. But I would say in general, our job is not to narrow anyone's focus, and I have plenty of students who've gone into that industry, and there are opportunities to be interested in it, and if it's not your thing, there's opportunities to stay away from it too. So that's what I'd say.
Another example of working with community, I probably shouldn't mention the city because I don't know if it would be stealing their thunder or something else, but a city manager reached out to me about a week and a half ago because they're considering legalizing marijuana in the city. They have no clue what it's going to do to their economy and asked if we could help out. So we're going to, this summer, do an impact study for them.
Wow, that's cool. I love all the economic impact studies that you guys do. I think it just provides so much value to the local communities.
I think
Deb
Walker alone sent me a list. I think she's maybe done 17 economic impact studies for municipalities and external stakeholders. But again, that's 17 relationships we've built, at least, with folks off campus that are happy with our work. So.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we are just about out of time. Thank you all so much for spending an hour with us, and thanks to everybody watching at home. It was really great of everybody to share all their thanks. Special shout out to Mrs. Huggins, our #1 fan. And thanks for sharing your honest opinions about everything and your experiences. And congratulations to Mariah for graduating soon.
Thank you.
And congratulations to Josh, who just won an award, the Gen I Career Success Fellow.
Cool. New Orleans.
Super cool, yep. So, we're really lucky to have you guys and all of you. So thanks so much. FLC Live kicks off again next Thursday at 4 p.m. We'll be talking with different people about the Peak Experience Program, which is our pre-orientation program. This year we've got 4 different emphases, which are all really exciting. So tune back in next week, and thanks for watching.
Aloha.
Yeah.